What's up, guys? I wanted to make a video on how to reinforce these side skirts. So this body panel right here, I know a lot of lowered guys and guys that like to drive super low to the ground have a problem with breaking these, or they'll be hanging off a little bit because the clips keep breaking. So I wanted to show you the technique that I used in order to make it a lot stronger. Sorry, my car is super dirty right now. I haven't cleaned it in a little while. But if you take a look in here, we got a bunch of garbage because I don't have any fender liners. I actually like to use a zip tie right here on this front corner. So that's one spot for reinforcement that you should keep in mind when you go to put this back on. And then I'm going to show you what else I have. The other thing I did was I actually replaced all these super crappy plastic clips on the bottom with bolts and Rivnuts. So the hole that the plastic clip used to go into, I replaced with a threaded Rivnut, and that allows this bolt to thread in and out, and you can reuse that a million times. Unlike self-tappers. Self-tappers suck because you're kind of just drilling holes into the metal, and then you can't really reuse that hole over and over again. But with Rivnuts and bolts, you can use that hole a million times, and you don't have to worry about it stripping or anything like that if you do it correctly. I'm going to go ahead and show you how to take this side skirt off. We're going to have to cut this zip tie off, take off the nuts on the bottom. If you guys are just taking your side skirt off for the first time, you'll have to deal with the clips on the bottom. But don't worry about breaking them, because if you plan on doing what I did, you'll never have to use those clips on the bottom again. There might be some clips back here if you guys still have the OEM fender liner. I'm not sure actually, because I haven't had that back here for years. But once you take all that stuff out, there's basically a bunch of clips throughout the inside of this thing, and if you just pull this thing straight out sideways, you'll be able to pop those clips out and the whole side skirt will come off. Now, once you have all those clips removed, all you have to do is pull the side skirt straight out sideways, and you should be able to pop it right off. Alright, now that we got the side skirt off, we can take a look at these clips on the sides here. So these clips, the way they're held in place on the side skirt is they actually just slide in to these spots right here. So this is what the clip looks like. And then once it's slid in and held into the spot here, it clips into these holes sideways. So these clips we're going to retain. What you'll want to do is you'll want to inspect all these clips to see if you've broken any of them. And if you have, you'll want to replace them. And one of the things that I've actually done is, if you enter this part number into Google, you can find a website that sells these in bulk. So if you buy them from Subaru and you buy the OEM Subaru clips, it's going to be super expensive. I think it's like $1 per clip, something like that. But what I do is I buy them in bulk, and I think I've got a pack of 100 of them or something like that for 15 bucks. So that's good, because if you ever break any of the clips in the future or anything like that, you'll always have a bunch on hand, and it'll be super easy and cheap to replace. Now we can take a look at the bottom portion of the car where the side skirt hooks up. So down here, this is where there's normally the OEM clip that is super garbage. So instead, what we're going to do is replace this empty hole with a Rivnut. And what that's going to do is that's going to turn this bare hole that used to be there into a threaded hole. So that's where you can use this bolt, and this bolt will thread into place. And that's going to be the new fastener that's going to hold the bottom of the side skirt to the car. And these are going to be much stronger than the plastic clips. And these are going to make sure that your side skirt is held to the car pretty much no matter what. So for washers, I use something called fender washers for the bolts, and that basically makes sure that you can spread the load of the fastening for the bolt as evenly as possible. And a fender washer is basically a washer that has the same standard inner diameter hole for the bolt, but the outer diameter of the washer is super huge. So that's nice, and the diameter of this washer actually fits inside this divot that's cut for the fastener. So everything is able to be spread out evenly, and that just helps it stay on that much more better. So this is what a rivnut looks like. It's basically just a rivet with threads inside, but this is what it looks like before it's installed. So what happens is you put this in whatever hole you want to install this into. This hole is too small, but these are sold in all kinds of different thread pitches and sizes, dimensions, but I found this size to work perfectly for the holes that are underneath the side skirt. I will include a link in the description for these. I got these from Amazon, and I'll also provide the part number for these clips on the side so that you can replace those if needed. There's a few different ways to install these. You can actually use a Rivnut gun, which is kind of like a rivet gun, but instead of a rod puller, it has a threaded stud puller. So this will thread onto the stud, and then once you get it set into place in the hole, you just activate the gun, and then it'll compress this fitting so that it stays locked in place. And then that's how we have these set up. So this is already compressed in place, so this Rivnut is stuck here locked, and it's not going to spin at all, so that's going to allow the bolt to pass in and out with no trouble. And I think that's it, honestly. So once you take the side skirt off, you inspect all the clips on the side that you're going to be retaining. Once you make sure those are still there, they're still all good, you just put your side skirt back into place and put bolts in the bottom instead of the stock plastic clips, and then you'll have a super sturdy side skirt that's never going to rip off or hang and sag and all that other garbage. And for anyone wondering, these Rivnuts are 5/16, 18 threads per inch. So these bolts I just picked up from Home Depot. These are 1-inch bolts, 5/16, 18 threads per inch. And I want to say this is a 1.5-inch fender washer. I'm not sure, I can measure it later. Yep, these are 1.5-inch washers. So 1.5-inch fender washers with a 5/16 inner diameter for the bolt, and then you're good to go. So once you get this side skirt into place, you'll want to go through and push on this panel throughout the entire distance of it, just so you can make sure all these sideways clips are fully seated. And then we're going to move to the bottom of the side skirt where you'll be able to see where the OEM clips used to go. But instead, you'll have nice threaded holes for you to use bolts instead of clips. Indeed. And that's it, guys. Now you have a super sturdy side skirt that's not going to rip off. Thanks to all these bolts and washers that are now holding it on the bottom, as opposed to those super crappy clips.